Hello there and welcome back to my channel. I'm glad you found time in your day to click on my link. You have many options these days to choose. There's a plethora of people talking about vinyl now, mostly new vinyl, I might say, mostly reissued vinyl. So I'm glad you gave me a few minutes. If you like what I'm doing, please like and subscribe so I can continue to do this. And I really want to thank everyone for all the well wishes I've received as my leg heals. Oh my God. It's been challenging, but you do what you got to do to move forward. I've been buying lots of glasses. I've really gotten into this glassware thing. It's pretty cool. So I wanted to do one of my infamous, legendary, how many years old? Almost 6 years old, 5x5 record shootouts. The last time I put one up, someone said I was ripping off Norman Maslow and his whack-a-moles, which I've never actually seen. Norman does great work, but my channel is about 3 years older than his, and I've been doing 5x5 for a long time. Whatever, it's just a fun thing to do, where I grab 5 records out of the blue and try to say something intelligent about them. With my current situation, it's hard for me to do that, so I pulled 5 records out, and then I sat down here on my couch. I got some shelves up to show some of my prized LP wares back here. Just a fun thing to do to show you part of my collection back there. But the first thing I pulled out, one of these great old Blue Note twofers. Thad Jones and Mel Lewis. From the great Thad Jones and Mel Lewis Village Vanguard band that started out as a Monday night thing and has been carried on by the Village Vanguard Jazz Orchestra to this day. And I think there's still maybe a couple horn arrangers from the original group. I could be right. Of course, with the great drummer John Riley. Really tremendous thing. If you come to New York City, that's one of the things you must do. If you're a jazz fan, you go to the Village Vanguard before any other jazz club. It's the greatest jazz club, I think, in the world. It's down in the basement. It's run by Max Gordon's daughters now. And it's a really iconic New York club. Live at the Village Vanguard by everybody from Bill Evans to John Coltrane. And you can still feel those vibrations, I believe, in the club. So if you come to the city, I recommend people go there. And if you're not during the week, go to hear the Monday Night Big Band. This is a big band that plays every week, as they have for many years, and they are phenomenal. They really, really are. But every week there's a great, there's week-long stays at the Vanguard. While around the club thing, I guess I would go to the Vanguard. I tell people to go to Jazz Gallery, Smalls, which is right down the street from the Vanguard. Mesro, much smaller room. And then there's a whole buttload of clubs out in Brooklyn now, Barbez, Bar Bayou, Shapeshifter Labs, Ornithology, that are a little more experimental. Anyway, I'm not sure which Blue Note records these were taken from to begin with, but this is a classic slice of the Thad Jones and Mel Lewis Big Band, and they kind of worked off each other. I always think of Thad Jones, the trumpeter, was kind of big and brash and emotive. He led the band, very physical. As for Mel Lewis, his drumming was always about subtlety and grace, kind of like Shelly Manne, but even less extroverted than Shelly Manne. Just very sort of subtle, but he could kick the crap out of the big band because he knew where to do the setups. But this has Jive Samba by Nat Adderley, one of their standards. Mean What You Say by Thad Jones. A Child Is Born by Thad Jones. You tend to forget Thad Jones did some great arrangements and tunes, starting with The Child Is Born. Woman Got Soul by Curtis Mayfield, Groove Merchant by Jerome Richardson. Some of the people on this, there's even Ruth Brown on one track. Some of the players on here include Benny Powell, Jerry Dodgen, Joe Farrell, Barry Galbraith, Sam Brown, Roland Hanna, Richard Davis. So this was the crop, the cream of the crop. This is 1975 when this came out. Most recently, I think Zed Feldman put out a two for Lost tracks from Thad Jones and Mel Lewis Big Band. That thing was really phenomenal. And I think these records really don't sound dated at all. This is classic big band, great soloists, great arrangements. Some of the greatest players in New York City at the time. Can't go wrong with that. This is a Blue Label. It's a comp, so there is no RVG on here. But If you find this, they're cheap. People don't run out of their way to buy Fat Jones, Mel Lewis records, and it is their loss. The next thing I pulled up was a really cool Savoy. Look at that lamination, man. I don't care what kind of lamination you have now. It does not look like this. This is from the late 50s. Loaded. I forgot where I found this, but I was really happy to get it. Whenever I see Savoys, I grab them, no matter who's on the record, because they're hard to find and they sound really fantastic. This one with Vito Musso, Kay Winding, Eddie Safransky, Boots Masuli, Stan Getz, Shorty Rogers, Shelly Manne. So this is more that transitional period from big band to hard bop, which is what a lot of Savoy records are about. Also on the back, people I've never heard of: Gene Rowland, Leonard Hawkins, the great Denzel Best on drums, Stan Getz on 4 tracks. Anyway, just really cool. Savoy Record Company, Inc., 58 Market Street, Newark, New Jersey. Hi-fi recording. This is I think this is a, oh, this might not be a, there are Savoys, oh no, there's RBG, you can't really see it, but classic maroon label, Loaded. So if you find that, this is just a great Savoy. Savoy is a great label to collect. Now, proof that I just pulled stuff out not knowing what it is proven by this, Lee Ritenour Captain Fingers. I think most of Lee Ritenour's work is probably a little too smooth, but this record, when I bought it, originally, I've had many copies. This is from 1977. It's sort of the height of the post-fusion period when that influence is still heard on a lot of people's records. And this record features Harvey Mason, just a killer band. Harvey Mason, Jeff Beccaro on drums. From that period when those two guys pretty much ruled pop and sort of slick fusion, not to mention Toto. And so the grooves on here are just impeccable. These are some pretty complex arrangements. Anthony Jackson on bass, Alphonso Johnson on bass, Harvey Mason, Steve Foreman on percussion, Victor Feldman playing congas. What record do you find with Victor Feldman playing congas? You know, you have such a wealth of incredible talent. You can get Victor Feldman, who can play anything, is better known for his vibes playing to play conga. Ernie Watts on saxophone, and it's just a burning. The title track is just, you know, just prime, wet, funky. Everybody's playing their ass off. If there's one Lee Ritenour record to own, this is it, before he goes totally smooth and totally slick. Oh, and this is funny. It even has, I've never noticed this before, it has little photos turned into drawings of all the musicians. Isn't that funny? Wow. That is really cool. Never noticed that before. Another great Savoy. I'm telling you, folks, find a Savoy record, you just buy it. The Quartet, Milt Jackson, John Lewis, Percy Heath, Kenny Clark. It's basically MJQ without Connie Kay. I'm not a big MJQ fan, but I'll buy anything on Savoy. I'll buy anything with Milt Jackson, anything with Kenny Clark. Kenny Clark is on so many of the Savoy recordings. This is another hi-fi recording. And this is interesting because this is a collage of photos. I didn't know they were doing this that far ago. You can see they just laid one over the other. Ray Brown's on one Clark, and Al Jones is on one Clark. Softly as the Morning Sunrise, Love Me Pretty Baby, Autumn Breeze, Milt Meets Sid, Moving Nicely, D&E, Heart and Soul, True Blues, Bluesology, Yesterday's Roundabout Midnight, Between the Devil and the Deep Blue Sea. That's a lot of tunes. They must be short. Remastered by Rudy Van Gelder. So this was an earlier recording. The brighter red, the maroon Savoy labels are the originals. I guess this is like a third copy or reissue. Looking for an RBG. No RBG, because it was really originally not recorded by Rudy. It was someone else, but this is a deep groove, beautiful label. If you're not familiar, the Modern Jazz Quartet, they all wore tuxedos and they looked to bring they wanted to get, my take on it, jazz out of the gutter, jazz away from 57th Street. We're going to make jazz music to hear in concert halls. That's sort of what it sounds like. It all sounds like Bach or something, which Bach is great, but if I want to hear jazz, I don't want to hear Bach. Very mannered and pristine and light and pretty, and it's just not my thing. To me, MJQ lacks blues, but this has Kenny Clark on it, so it has to swing. And I would probably buy this solely for Kenny Clark and for Milt Jackson. Personally, he's a great bass player. Not a big fan of John Lewis, but again, look at the laminate on that cover. I paid $40 for this at Jazz Record Center. I mean, today's laminate is really beautiful, but it does not look like that. I don't know how they were able to do this. I'm sure someone knows. A great record. Another strange record I just pulled out. Another great big band that everyone sleeps on. Kenny Clark, Francie Boland. Most of these are on MPS, the great MPS label. MPS, music from the Black Forest. You can, like Savoy, you can trust almost any record you see on MPS. And in the US, for my money, they're extremely hard to find. Don't know why that is. They just don't pop up. They've reissued a few of their titles. They reissued a great Joe Pass record, but they really haven't done much to it. But this is just stellar big band, but it's not like American big band. To me, it kind of lacks some of the braggadocio, some of the brashness, some of the brawn and the balls with all the B's. It's more lyrical in a way. And this too has wonderful players on it. Oh, including on one track, Kenny Clare, the great British drummer, Sahib Shihab, Johnny Griffin, Ronnie Scott. This is 1969, 1971 MPS. And I have several of the Francie Boland records, and they're just really cooking big band records in a different way than American big bands, as all European big bands are different from American big bands. Great shot at Kenny Clark. Anyway, that's today's little 5x5. Thanks for checking in. If you like what I'm doing, please, once again, hit that like button and subscribe. And I really appreciate all the well wishes. Tomorrow I get the cast removed and get a big boot. But I haven't been out of my apartment in over a month. It's pretty strange, man. It's strange. Thanks a lot.